everybody, and welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing? Are you well? I hope you guys are well. Anyways, so today we are doing another Let's Draw of a Pokemon. Finally, a Pokemon artwork. I have been wanting to do one of these for ages now. I usually do them pretty regularly, but I don't know, I didn't get around to doing one, so today I'm finally doing it. So what Pokemon today are we drawing? We are drawing the Pokemon YVELTAL. Now this Pokemon here, which is on the screen, is from Pokemon X and Y, the games, and I really love this Pokemon. He's a really cool Pokemon. He's basically like a big death bird, and I actually haven't caught this Pokemon in the games because I actually owned Pokemon X, which you get a Pokemon called Xerneas, but my partner Jesse loves YVELTAL, and when I asked him what Pokemon I should draw, he was like, draw this Pokemon, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I definitely want to draw that Pokemon. So yeah. So I'm just roughly sketching out the ideas for this Pokemon on some Bristol paper. Now usually I go with expressive blending card, but I'm actually not home at the moment. I'm actually in a different city, and I really wanted to draw some Pokemon on some marker paper, but I couldn't really find any expressive blending card around, so the closest thing I got was some Strathmore Bristol paper. And yeah, I'm actually not minding this paper at all. It is a little bit larger than A4, so I'm able to draw a little bit bigger, and yeah, it has a nice smooth surface, but it also sort of acts similar to the mixed media paper, just with a way less rough surface. So for inking this piece, I am using my Copic multi-liners for this, and I'm just going in nice with some nice black outlines and a little bit of tonal variation here with the thickness and thinness of the lines. And yeah, I'm just trying to get some nice crisp line art. So for the pose of this piece, I wanted to have a bit of foreshortening. I really love when I add foreshortening into the piece, and I really wanted to try and capture that again for this artwork. So I had one of its wings sort of coming out really close to the character, as well as the tail sort of flowing around and coming closer to the character, or the viewer. I shouldn't say character, viewer. And yeah, I really like adding that kind of thing because it just gives it a little bit more oomph and makes the pose look a bit more dynamic. So for the background, I had a very particular background in mind. I wanted to have like sort of clouds going around YVELTAL, and I wanted to have them sort of like blended in a way that they looked dark and luminous. And I definitely wanted to add a little bit of green into that background as well, kind of like when you have a thunderstorm and the light sort of goes through the clouds in a way that makes them look slightly green. I find that looks really cool and badass, and I definitely wanted to have that in my drawing. Another reason why I decided to go with slight green tinges in the background is because green is a complementary color to red, and YVELTAL is mostly red, so I definitely wanted to try and go with a bit of a complementary color palette, but I didn't want to do it too full on. I didn't want it to look Christmassy or anything like that, so I tried to keep the greens pretty subtle. Now you're probably confused at the moment because most of the background I'm drawing right now is grey. I did go in first with a layer of greys that was sort of really blended, and I really wanted to have a very sort of soft green color and mostly greys because that's what clouds look like. So I went in first with all of the greys, and it was annoying because I actually started to run out of cool greys a little bit, and since I'm not at home, I haven't been at home for like probably a week now, I don't have all of my marker refills with me, so that was a little bit annoying, but I just kept going back and forth with some neutral greys as well as the cool greys and a bit of black here and there, and I ended up getting the background pretty close to what I wanted. Now, doing this background, I did accidentally make a little bit of a mistake, as you'll probably see later in the video. When I was coloring in the artwork, I kind of dropped a bit of ink onto the background, and I was like, oh my god. But I ended up fixing that up, so that's fine. Yeah, so for the green tinges finally in the background, I went in with a few different colors because I wanted a bit of a hue shift. I didn't want them all to be the same green. So I went in with a bit of sea green, I think pale cobalt green, and also, I can't remember them all because I used so many. Mint green, ice blue, it was like a light yellowy green as well, and I just sort of blended them out subtly in areas, and I'm really happy with how that turned out because it is green. You can definitely tell that it's got that sort of green luminous look to it, but it's not too full on, so it's kind of subtle and nice. So now for the character, I'm finally going in and drawing the character. Usually I prefer to draw the backgrounds first because it is the most part of the artwork, and I don't know, I feel like that's just the way I prefer to do it. But yeah, for this character, he is a lot of reds and blacks and greys, so I definitely wanted to have a nice sort of poppy red color. So I went in with crimson, which is a beautiful bright sort of red color, as well as a bit of cardinal and peony. And I just sort of blended that in and tried to add, oh look, there's that mistake I made, whoops. But yeah, I tried to sort of blend it in a way where there were shadows, but it wasn't too shaded. I definitely wanted to have shadows in some parts, but I sort of wanted the Pokemon to look almost like he was glowing, but not full on glowing, just a little bit, because I wanted him to stand out from the dark, sort of gloomy background. Now for the black parts on YVELTAL, I went in with just my black marker and I layered it up quite a bit. Now the paper actually, I don't know, it kind of softens the colors a little bit, so the black wasn't as black as I really wanted it. I wanted it this sort of really deep black, so I just kept going over with my marker, and then after that I actually went over with my Copic Gas and Fude brush pen, and this is basically like an inking lining pen, but I used bits of that because it was just a little bit darker than the marker, and I just went over with all of the shadows and really dark parts that I wanted to get, and that helped quite a bit. After that I sort of went in with some of my grey markers and I just added very subtle highlights on the black parts. I didn't want to just leave the highlights because I really wanted them to be subtle so that it looked really dark. And yeah, after that I went in and did some final touches on my artwork. I actually went in with my white gel pen, and this is a new gel pen, so it's really nice and juicy. So I was able to get some nice bright highlights, and yeah, I just went in on all of the outlines of the artwork and also just little parts here and there which I wanted to be nice and glossy. And I really love doing this because it just makes the Pokemon stand out so well from the background, and it just looks so good and crisp when I do it, so I'm really glad that I decided to do that. But yeah, after that I went into the background now with my gel pen, and I actually decided to do a little bit more of an effect. I really wanted this to be a sort of dark, stormy night, so of course I wanted to add some rain. Now, in the past when I've drawn rain, it hasn't really gone all that well, so this time I really wanted to try and do it sort of effectively. So I actually went in with a ruler and I did some sort of like dotted lines and sort of broken lines, and I just sort of had them coming out from the middle. Now this is because I wanted it to look like you were looking up at a dark, sort of slightly green, stormy sky, and you see this Pokemon flying above you, and it's terrifying. So that's the kind of like look that I wanted to get. So those lines for the rain actually turned out really nice, and it actually draws your eye to the character, so I'm really happy with how that turned out. So here's the final results, and I love it so much. I feel like lately I haven't been overly happy with my art, but this one I am super happy with. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you think below. Hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone!